Yiratzon, Parashat Ki Tisa 5784. The learning should be the Refuat Kol HaCholim, for the bring back of all the Chatufim, for the assistance of all the Chayalim, and for the Nechama for all the families that are mourning, all the Mishpachot Shakulot. There are two parts of our Parsha that seem to be different, that I think are identical. The beginning of our Parsha says the way that we count Am Yisrael is that everyone gives a machzir shekel. That the way that we count, the way that we enable the Jewish people to feel united together is by saying to everyone, you're a half. We have another story in our Parsha, the saddest story in all of Tanakh, where Am Yisrael had the opportunity to unite with Hashem, but what happened was that we went and did Chet HaEgel, and we shattered the Luchot, and the question is, what do we do with those shattered pieces? So the majority of us would see the shattered pieces, we'd ignore them. We'd say, listen, if it's broken, it's irrelevant. If it's not complete, we don't want it. If it's vulnerable, if it's tearful, if it's something that is not presented complete, then let's put it on the side. But the Gemara in Masechet Menachot has an argument. What do we do with the Shivrei Luchot? And one of the opinions has a crazy concept, which is at the end of halacha, that these broken pieces are what go into Kodesh Kodashim, and they sit in the Aron with the full Luchot, and the broken Luchot are there too. What's the connection between these two units? The units that the way we count Am Yisrael is machzir shekel, and that the Shivrei Luchot, the broken pieces, are all put into Kodesh Kodashim and not outside. A lot of us think that things that are broken are things that are shattered. The way that we see that if you see someone that's breaking, you say to yourself, you know what? This person, his story is over. We don't realize is that I got a great question, a great dilemma that was presented to me by Morin V'Rabbeinu Rav Avichai about 3 days ago. Rav Avichai said that this year in Eretz Yisrael, there's over 400 people that have asked to have a Seder that's done by someone because they have no father. That's the amount of people that are sitting this year that last year sat with their father with a full family, and now it's shattered and broken, and they have a Seder without their Abba. And so Rav Avichai said, Rav Rimon is giving one Seder. And is there an option for Tanya or Nadiel and Roni to give the other Seder for these families that have just been broken to pieces? And that dilemma is difficult, because a lot of times when I sat with Oritan, I sat with Adiel, they said the broken is difficult. Let's stray away from it. Let's not be a part of it. Let's try to keep dancing and not have to experience that broken. And I think that the answer is that wherever you're able to embrace the broken is where the story actually begins. That the way that we build ourselves is not by our strong parts, but our weakest areas are actually our strongest. The areas where we break are the areas where we need relationships. The areas where we break are the areas where we need help. And the only way to connect to Hashem is once we realize that we need help. And Moraine Rabbeinu Reb Nachman says that the greatest heart is the broken heart. Because the broken heart says, broken is the beginning. The Shivrei Luchot are not the ends. Those are the broken pieces that are saying that even when we fall, we can still yearn. Even when we're dealing with pain, we can still yell out, we want to dance. We want to build. And that is what's going to define personality. When we are met with brokenness, is that the beginning? And that's machzir shekel. Machzir shekel is just the Shivrei Luchot. The greatest Jew is not someone who presents his abilities, but he's not afraid of his disabilities. He's not afraid that he's a chetzi, that there's something that's missing, and he celebrates that. That's his identity. And our bracha going into Purim is that when we're preparing ourselves now to celebrate Purim, it was our lowest moment, and at the same time our highest moment. And that when we're preparing for our Seders this year, to think about not how are we remembering externally the brokenness, but internalizing it at our Seders. And remembering that the number one cup at the Seder is meant to be red wine. And says the Mishnah Berurah, why should it be red wine? To remember the blood of the Jewish people that was inside Egypt. The way we begin our Seder is not by celebrating that we left, but by not being afraid of the fact that there are things that are broken that are not external, but they're internal. And the bracha to all of Am Yisrael in this parsha is that in this greatest parsha of brokenness, in this greatest time of shattering that we've been experiencing, that we ask ourselves continuously, how is this the beginning of tomorrow? How is this beginning the ability to realize that there's so much more to build and there's so much more to do? Shabbat Shalom.